Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from April 2nd from Bounding Into Comics. And this is a little more on the lighter side of things. We can have a little fun with this because we all like lists, don't we? And this is John Carpenter's filmography ranked from worst to best. Now, I already did read this article all the way through, kind of hoping that number one was what I wanted it to be, and it is, thankfully. And if you've listened to some of my other pop culture stuff that particular movie has come up, you'll know which movie I am talking about. But I'm not, now that I think about it, I don't even know if I've mentioned that before, but I guess we're going to find out here. So I do own all of his movies on Blu-ray. I have watched all of them. It's been a while for some of them. But let's just kind of dive right into it. I'm not going to go through all of the commentary that they have in here necessarily. I might just give my thoughts on each of them and just kind of briefly see what they say about it. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I guess I'm just going to play this by ear and we'll just do it as it happens. So let's go right into it. Let's scroll down and starting with The Ward, which is the one. This is actually Amber Heard here. The Japanese poster, of course. I remember it, and that's his most recent movie. It's 2010. I don't think he's done a movie since then, as a matter of fact. I thought it was fine. There's very few movies that I watch that I actively dislike. So if I say something's fine, it was kind of like I watched it. My brain was probably somewhere else half the time that I was watching the movie. I don't remember what I gave it on IMDb, but yeah, I remember watching it just thinking like, okay, that was fine. And it's his last movie too, so whatever. So I don't really care too much about that. And let's scroll down to Village of the Damned. And I remember this is a remake. I remember when this came out, and it was kind of like, okay, people were just kind of like, all right, over it. It says Christopher Reeve in it, just so you know as well. There's somebody else in it that's pretty prominent. Does it say yes or no? Yeah, Christopher Reeve. No, it doesn't. I thought there was at least another person that's pretty prominent in it, but yeah, I mean, this is, again, it's fine. If you like John Carpenter stuff, of course, watch it. Same with The Ward. Watch both of those. But I remember thinking about this one. I've only seen it like once or twice, and I was just like, okay, it was a thing that happened, a thing that I watched. Not cutting that out. So going on to Ghost of Mars. Yeah, Ice Cube, Natasha Henstridge. I wouldn't say I actively disliked it. I was just kind of like, what the hell? It was probably, of the three that we've gone over so far, this one is the weakest, in my opinion, more so than The Ward. The Ward wasn't like bad or anything. This one's like actively not that good. It's just weird. I think that's actually Pam Grier there. It could be, am I right about that? It doesn't, her name's not on there. Let me just check. It doesn't, oh yeah, it is Pam Grier. Okay. But yeah, that I honestly, like, if you like John Carpenter, watch the movie. Otherwise, I would say don't bother with this one. Probably don't bother with the other two that we got over as well. But let's just keep going here. Memoirs of an Invisible Man. There's your 2 stars, Chevy Chase and Daryl Hannah. I remember watching like an HBO behind the scenes, like one of their, what they used to do. I can't remember what the name of it was back in like the 90s, and they were showing how they did the effects for this movie, which were pretty revolutionary. Excuse me, at the time. And yeah, I mean, I actually like this movie. It's not a strong movie. I like it. But yeah, and this I'd kind of recommend watching, though it's not a horror movie, which is what John Carpenter is known for. It's like sci-fi sort of stuff. So, but again, it's still interesting. That's right. Sam Neill is the bad guy. I was like, I think the bad guy is someone that everybody knows, and yeah, it's Sam Neill. That's right. Who has starred in another of John Carpenter's movies that we will see coming up on the list later on. But yeah, I'd watch this just for the effects, because even at the time in 1992, the effects are actually pretty good. I haven't watched this in a long time, and definitely not with an eye to see if the effects still hold up. Maybe I'll do that one of these days, because I really would be interested in seeing that. But yeah, and it's like it says here, I just noticed this. It's one of those rare Carpenter movies not to have a cult following. Yeah, no one really even talks about this, though. But yeah, again, if you like Carpenter, watch the movie. If you don't, probably like Chevy Chase, watch the movie too, because he's pretty good. But other than that, like, whatever. God, having the coughs all of a sudden. Dark Star, which I'd never even heard of until like I was looking to actively get all of John Carpenter's movies on Blu-ray. And I just kind of was like, about this one. Like, it didn't really do much for me. And it says right here, I wanted to bring this up, Dan O'Bannon. I believe that is one of the people who wrote the first Alien movie. So that might be worth. I mean, if you're into that sort of stuff, you want to see what that he was up to before Alien. By all means, have at Dark Star. Again, I was just kind of about it, and it is what it is. It's a sci-fi movie. I honestly couldn't. I've only watched it the one time after I got it on Blu-ray, and I could not for the life of me tell you what it was about, to be perfectly honest. I just remember kind of being semi-bored by it, but whatever, let's just keep going. But it is kind of a weird sci-fi movie. What did it say here? The film is far from a masterpiece. Even Quentin Tarantino disagrees. Okay, well, he's certainly entitled to his opinion. But yeah. So then, it's the first film to depict a ship jumping into hyperspace. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's a little bit of historical knowledge for you. Then Escape from L.A. I remember liking this movie. It's not as good as the first one, which is further up on the list, as you probably would have guessed, because when we start getting near to the top, you're going to see a bunch of movies that you're like, oh yeah, those are actually all like really, really good movies. And this kind of didn't really need to be done. It's a goofy movie. Kurt Russell, of course, as Snake Plissken. You got Steve Buscemi there. This is actually Bruce Campbell, Stacy Keach. Yeah, so again, I like this movie. It's not a good movie. I liked it. It is what it is. And I think I saw it pretty recently too, and I was just kind of like, oh yeah, it's a perfectly serviceable film that happened. But again, I'd still stay near the place where it's like, if you like John Carpenter movies, go ahead and watch it. If not, don't, I guess. But if you want to also see the sequel from Escape to New York, because you like Snake Plissken, go ahead and watch Escape from L.A. It's not going to hurt you. Yeah, this scene is kind of ridiculous here. The surfing scene, it's like, even then, it's like the blue screen is a bit much because it's like completely obvious. But yeah, there you go. So then Starman is another movie that I really, really liked. So yeah, I definitely would recommend this. Jeff Bridges he's Jeff Bridges. He's excellent in this movie as well, playing an alien. It's a sci-fi movie. It's Karen Allen of Indiana Jones fame for the most part. And I think it's worth mentioning here that, yeah, this is a good alien movie, where the aliens are coming to conquer us all, or they're not trying to, kill people and everything like that. This is like, basically, he's a good guy in it, as far as I remember. Again, I haven't watched this movie in years, but I remember really liking it. And I would recommend this one to anybody to watch. If you like Jeff Bridges, absolutely watch the movie. It's a different performance from him than you're probably used to seeing. So I'd recommend it for that alone. Let's keep going here. What did it say about reviews? Yeah, positive review. Yeah. So yeah, it's a unique film. It's very high character for horror. Yeah, he's trying to branch out. There you go. All right. Vampires. I remember seeing this in the theater when it came out. I loved this movie when it came out. The more I watch it, though, the more I'm kind of like, it was good, but I loved it when it first came out. Like, my first impression was like, dude, that was awesome, because I thought it was like a different sort of vampire movie than we were used to seeing at the time. And the star is James Woods, who is not actually in this frame. This is the vampire, and this is the chick who gets bitten by the vampire. But James Woods is basically James Woods being James Woods. it's as I've said, it's James Woods at his most James Woodsy kind of in this movie. He's great. The dude who plays the priest that hangs out with him for most of the movie is good too. It's Tim Guiney, who's, you might not know the name, but if you look him up, you'll be like, oh, I've seen that guy. He's like one of those that guy character actors. He's really good too. Cheryl Lee from, I want to say it was Twin Peaks is actually what she's known for. And that's Thomas Ian Griffith. No, or Thomas Ian Nicholas. One of them is the kid from Rookie of the Year and American Pie. The other one is this guy from Karate Kid 3. He was the villain in that. But yeah, he's good in this too. Sorry, I got the names mixed up. But yeah, Vampires I would absolutely recommend. If you like vampire movies, go ahead and watch it, whether you like Carpenter or not. But yeah, my first impression of the movie was awesome. Let's keep going on, skipping all that. And then Christine. I think now we're going to start getting into the movies. There's probably a couple here that most of you are going to be like, I know exactly what that movie is, but there's probably a couple that some are going to be like, I don't know that one. But starting with Christine, based on a Stephen King, as you can see here with the hashtag Stephen King book. Have I read this book? No, I have not read this book. Stephen King is my most read author. And I've only read maybe like a third of his books. This is unfortunately not one of them. I have it somewhere in my place. No, don't know where though. But the movie is really good. It's basically about a killer car. That's it. And it's worth it. Yeah, this one's actually really good. I know number 10 on a list of 18 means it's like, probably further down the list is in the bottom half, but I would still definitely recommend Christine, because you're going to see some of these other movies that are going to come up are worth being ahead of Christine, and everything from here, I'd say go and watch. So let's go ahead and go to the next one, which is Prince of Darkness. So this is one of the ones I was alluding to when I mentioned Christine, that people out there are probably not completely aware of, unless you are like a Carpenter fan. You may have heard of this movie. And this is actually the Steelbook Blu-ray, and I have that because when Shout Factory started putting out all of Carpenter's stuff, they had a lot of Blu-rays, Steelbooks, and those are what I got for him, even though I don't really give a crap one way or the other if they're Steelbooks or not. But Prince of Darkness, very good movie. Again, it's kind of a sort of different apocalyptic type movie. Excuse me, had hiccups. I'm, coughing and hiccuping now. Any other bodily functions want to come out? Anyway, I definitely recommend this movie as well. Like I said, it's kind of a different sort of horror movie, but definitely take a look at it. And as it says here, I should mention this, where it's the second entry in the Apocalypse trilogy, and of course, we haven't actually gone over the other two yet, which are The Thing and In the Mouth of Madness. But I would definitely recommend Prince of Darkness. It is a Satan thing, so if that bothers you, don't watch it. But yeah, swirling green liquid, that happens to be the devil himself. So let's keep going. But yeah, it's a very good movie. Check it out. In the Mouth of Madness is what I remembered being next, and this is the final part of the Apocalypse trilogy. The movies aren't actually like connected. They're just all about like the end of the world in a way, sort of thing, which is why they're called that. But yeah, Sam Neill's the lead here. This one, of the rest of the ones on the list, was the one that I was most kind of like about, like didn't really care about. It didn't do much for me. I've thought about it to myself a number of times, like I need to rewatch this movie at some point, because it is probably better than I remember, but I don't know when I'm going to do that. But yeah, again, you like John Carpenter, watch the movie. If you want to see, it's just a weird movie. But yeah, definitely check it out. I want to say, I'm going to try to recollect this to the best of my ability, and it's probably not going to be good, that Sam Neill is like an author or something, and I'm not even going to try going over that. I don't remember it all. I'm just thinking about it. Let's see here. Oh, he's an insurance investigator. The other dude back here, he's the author. Yeah, he's hired by a publishing company to track down the whereabouts of their client, popular horror authors, played by Jürgen Prochnow. That's who this back here is, Jürgen Prochnow. You don't know the name. Beverly Hills Cop 2, he was the villain, besides Brigitte Nielsen. You'd probably know him if you saw him. He's also in, I think, Das Boot. But yeah, and this is the deadline for his new novel is approaching, and it's expected to outsell his previous bestsellers, but they have neither manuscript nor scribe. There's also a rumor going around that some readers are going insane after finishing Crane's stories, and that's kind of what this is about. So it sounds kind of dumb, but check it out. It's a little different. It's my least favorite of the ones that are in the top 10 here. But again, I probably need to check it out and rewatch it. And there's a famous, if you watch the Critical Drinkers channel, he always has a clip of Sam Neill doing like, oh, like he's about to start screaming. That's from this movie. So check it out, because I think you'll enjoy it. Assault on Precinct 13. Doesn't have the remake on here, of course, because it's not John Carpenter. There's other remake in the theater. This predates me by a couple of years to go to the theater for sure. And it's one of his earlier movies, and it's the remake. I don't remember honestly if it's like scene for scene with the original. I don't think it is, but it's, if you remember what the basic plot of the remake was, that's what this one is, which is just the gang that swore a blood oath to destroy Precinct 13 and every cop in it, and they go after the police who are essentially locked in there. Except I think in the remake it was actually bad cops versus good cops, and this one is a gang going after the police officers, so it's a little different in that respect. And I only saw this one once as well, and I remember thinking it was fine. It was okay. I mean, Carpenter was still starting out. This is only, I think, his second movie. So, and like it says, it's a bloody urban western. Okay, so yeah, check it out. Let's keep going. They Live. I thought this was actually going to be higher up on the list, and then I realized that I forgot about a few movies, and I'm like, oh yeah, those probably do deserve to be in front of They Live. They Live is, I love this movie. This is just a great movie. The best fight of any movie in movie history is in this between Roddy Piper and Keith David. There is no movie fight that's better than this one, and if you know that South Park parodied it, or they really didn't parody it, they did it scene for scene between Timmy and Jimmy. But check it out. And it's a sci-fi movie, kind of sci-fi horror to a lesser extent. But basically, Roddy Piper, and this actually, I would say before I even go into what it's about, that this movie probably has a lot of parallels with what's happening right now in society. And this is what, from '88, yeah. So it's worth checking out. You know, when he puts on these sunglasses, suddenly he sees regular people look like this, and billboards and magazines don't say, like, show what they usually do. They say, like, obey and stuff like this, stuff like that. So check it out. I think this one's a pretty quick movie too. I don't think it goes on for too long. It's maybe an hour and a half, somewhere there. But absolutely, highly recommend watching this movie. It's an excellent film. Let's keep going. Oh, and it's where I should say too, it's where the saying, "I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum" came from, is this movie here, delivered by Roddy Piper. Rest in peace, Roddy. All right, so Big Trouble in Little China is starting off the top 5, and absolutely recommend this movie as well. Just a fun movie. It's like and it's kind of an odd one if you don't know anything about it, in that it's like an action oriental western horror sci-fi, like fantasy, maybe. You can kind of throw all those terms at it, and it just works. Again, Kurt Russell is the lead. This is Kim Cattrall here for another familiar face. And then this is what's his face, James Wong, who is very much one of those character actors. I think he's in like half the movies ever made. I say it sarcastically, but it seems like it. You'll know him if you see him. And not in this movie, though, because he looks completely different than he most normally does. But if you were to look him up, you'll know who he is. But watch this movie. It's just fun. It's Kurt Russell at his kind of most arrogant, if you will, but in like a funny way. Because this is a guy who always is out of his element, yet somehow keeps coming out on top, sort of thing. But absolutely watch this. It's just a fun movie. You're gonna have a good time with it. Scroll it down. The Fog. Okay. I actually did not really like this movie. Whether it was the remake with Tom Welling in it was just awful, and I do not recommend the remake. I didn't really like this one. Maybe I've only seen it one time, so maybe I should watch it again. I'm not opposed to that. But it's basically monsters coming out of a fog in a small town, and it has Adrienne Barbeau, and there she is, actually. And Jamie Lee Curtis. Oh, yeah, she's in it as well. Tom Atkins. Again, if you don't know who Tom Atkins is, you will if you see him. He's one of those guys that was in half the stuff in, like, the 80s. If you've seen the first Lethal Weapon movie, he's the father of the girl that dies at the very beginning of the movie. But, again, you'll know him if you see him. He's in Halloween 3 as well. Yeah, I mean, I didn't like this one. Whatever. Go ahead and watch it. If you're a fan of Carpenter or you want to see a horror movie, go ahead and watch it. But that wasn't really my thing. Wasn't really into it, but whatever. Then I have Escape from New York at number 3. So you probably know at this point what the top 2 are going to be, but you won't necessarily guess in what order. You might be kind of surprised at that. So definitely recommend this one. I've only seen it, like, I think once, but I really, really enjoyed it. So it says, like it says here, a dystopian future of 1997. So Kurt Russell is Snake Plissken in his first appearance there, and it's just like an action movie. That's what it is. Go check it out. Donald Pleasance, who also is in Prince of Darkness that we mentioned, and the number 2 movie coming up on the list, which kind of gives away what the number 2 movie is going to be, which is Halloween. And, of course, you know what the number 1 movie is because you haven't seen it yet. But we're going to come to that in a minute. So Halloween, what do I need to say about this? Everybody's heard of this movie. Probably most people have seen it. It's just an excellent movie all the way around. One of the horror movies, if someone's into horror movies, say, you got to see Halloween if you haven't seen it. It's just one of those, I think, musts for any horror movie fan. And I'm not even going to go into the 75 other Halloween movies that there are, however many there are. But absolutely watch Halloween. It is excellent. It basically made Jamie Lee Curtis a star. As it was wont to do. And let's just hit number 1, which, as I've said at the very beginning, was what I was hoping would be number 1, and it is The Thing, which is in probably my top 5 of my favorite movies of all time. It's, for people that don't know, it's basically an alien parasite starts taking over people at an Antarctic outpost, which you can kind of see here in the picture. And you don't know who's the thing. As simple as that, and everybody starts getting offed in very creative ways, and the practical effects that they have in it, because of course this was it was before CGI, well before CGI became prominent, but This is just an excellent movie. Like I said, the practical effects are second to none. Go and read about what it was Rob Bottin, who was the effects guy on it, what he did and how much he was working. I think he had to be hospitalized after he was done with this because he was exhausted, essentially. It's just a fantastic movie. It keeps you guessing until the very end, and even after it's over. I mean, people these days are still looking to see like you don't know who the thing is at what point, and there's other conspiracy theories about the movie that people are still into. This is 42 years after the movie came out. It's so good, and again, the effects are still hold up today. It's amazing what Rob Bottin was able to do. So you got basically almost everybody in the movie is someone you've probably seen in something else before. I'm not necessarily going to go over all their names other than Kurt Russell. It's got Wilford Brimley in it. Keith David is in it. Trying to think. There's, again, a bunch of other faces that you're probably like, I know that person from something else that's in this movie. So absolutely highest possible recommendation for the thing. If you're into sci-fi, watch it. You're into sci-fi horror, watch it. You're into horror, watch it. You just want to, like a whodunit, or not even a whodunit, but who is it sort of movie, watch it. Kind of like who's the murderer, but people are dying sort of, like, watch this movie. It's fantastic. And I want to point out here too that this came out the same week as E.T. or same year. I'm sorry, as E.T. It came out only 2 weeks. E.T. came out 2 weeks prior to this. So you had one movie which was like the kid friendly alien, and this one with the aliens essentially like devouring people, and it was a box office bomb. And now it says it's been reappraised, now considered by many to be one of the greatest horror films ever made. I'm on that block here, one of the greatest horror films ever made. It absolutely is. So check that out. Check out John Carpenter's discography. He's not a band. Check out his filmography. You can have fun with it. Like I said, there's some in here that are kind of but I think you're going to have fun all the way around, okay? So let me know what you think about this. What are your top few Carpenter movies? What's your favorite Carpenter movie? Are you as much in love with the thing as I am? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.